This is not an ad. I just really love Monster. But Monster, if you're watching this, I'll take a case of these a month as placement. Got no problem with product placement for free Monster. Waiting. Oh, that's why. Good afternoon. Another lovely day here in the state of Michigan. It is Friday. That means it is Four-Wheel Friday. And today we're going to talk about a subject that I get talked to a lot just because I've done it, and a lot of people seem to have questions about it that haven't done it. And because I get asked a lot, I figured that maybe there's a lot of people out there that have a lot of questions about it. The thing that people ask me is, why did I lease my truck? And then why did I buy it? Why didn't I just buy it? And why am I leasing the new truck? Well, it's pretty simple, really. What we're going to talk about first is the buy. Because I think that a lot of people just get it in their head that, there's no point in leasing, I should just buy it. And then they look at the payment amount and how much you got to put down, and that drives people away from getting brand new vehicles. When in all reality, owning a brand new vehicle is obtainable for just about everybody if you go about it the right way. And that's what we're going to talk about. So when it comes to a buy, why did I not buy this truck? Why did I lease it? Well, payment, really. Because out the door, my truck's stickered at $50,000, which means that I need to have at least a $5,000 down payment. And even with perfect credit, I'm still looking at about a $750 per month truck payment, which is not what I pay right now, thank God. But at the time, I can't afford $730 a month for a truck payment. Who can really afford that legitimately and being like, yeah, it's okay? But I needed a truck, I needed something that could tow, so on and so forth. And I had recently, or at that time, read an article on Yahoo News about someone in the finance industry wrote an article saying that it might be more beneficial now, with the way car prices are, to lease and then buy. So I read the article. I was a little intrigued. I'm always up for the in the know kind of stuff. So that payment was the whole reason why I chose not to buy my truck first. And that's kind of why I believe a lot of people don't buy brand new vehicles, is because that payment's kind of daunting. And I'm not saying my payment specifically or payments on trucks, even smaller cars. I mean, you're getting a small Focus, with just a few options in it. You're still having to put, $2,500 down. Your payment's still going to be about $3 something a month. And I think people kind of get caught up in the I'm paying $300 a month to drive a Focus, because that's what goes through my head. But I'm petty, so it is what it is. Excuse me, I'm getting over getting sick, so just bear with me. So I knew I couldn't afford a payment that high, which kind of pulled me out of the ability to get a new truck. So I started looking at some used trucks, kind of looking to find something that might, fit my need but be cheaper in the payment and stuff like that. And then I quickly realized that, even in the used car market, trucks are really sought after, and the truck market is really high, like really high. For example, you can get, if you wanted a newer diesel, okay, doesn't matter which manufacturer, just newer, say 2010, it could have 200,000 miles on it. You're still probably going to pay at least in the low to mid 20s for that truck. I mean, it's absurd. The market is absurd. With that, then I started to feel like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to get a truck. I really need a truck. My car I had at the time was basically dead, or it was dying. And I felt like I really didn't have much of an option. And And the thing about buying is, especially when it comes to new vehicles, that people will say all the time, which is and isn't true, is the fact that when you buy a new vehicle, you lose in depreciation the second it drives off the lot, which is completely true to an extent. It depreciates the second it drives off the lot, but that doesn't mean you have to eat all of it. And I think that's where people get a little bit off the rocker, because people tell me all the time, why the hell would you buy a brand new vehicle? You're going to lose your ass as soon as you drive it off the lot. No. When I got my truck, they gave me $8,700 off the truck. That's almost 20% of the sticker price. So if it depreciated 20%, what I got off between, I have an employee discount, family member, a couple of my family members work for Chrysler. So I had my employee discount. They had some awesome incentives, some awesome rebates going, and that's why I picked that particular dealership that I bought it from. And that's how I got all these rebates. So when I drove it off the lot, my truck actually was worth more than when it was sitting on the lot. And that's where, well, I don't want to say worth more. It was worth more than what I paid for it. I guess you could say it that way. You're not going to pay exactly what that sticker says. And I don't care what dealership you go to, that's not, what it says on the sticker is not what you're paying. And if that's what the case is, you need to find another dealership or pick a different car. Because dealerships are always doing deals, some sort of incentive to get you to buy a vehicle all the time. Now, you might not get $8,700 off, but I think you're good for at least 3 to 4% of the purchase price of the car, whatever its stickers has. So if you got a car and it's going to sticker at $20,000, I think it's a safe bet that you can probably get about anywhere from $400 to maybe like $2,000 off, guaranteed all the time. Now, you might even get more than that, because you could get, $2,500 in bonus cash, and then another, $2,000 in dealer incentives. Then you're $4,500 off a $20,000 car. So, yes, your vehicle will depreciate the second you buy it and drive off the lot. No, you are not going to be upside down every single time in a vehicle the second you drive it off the lot. It's just not the case. And don't get me wrong, you might be a little bit, but that depreciation amount is not as daunting as everyone likes to make it seem. And most of the people that tell people, oh yeah, you're gonna be upside down to that way deep the second you drive it off the lot, are people who never bought a brand new vehicle, and they don't understand, and they don't know. So that's how we get into the leasing stuff. Now, leases are awesome depending on your situation. And what I mean by that is, the one big proponent of whether or not you should or shouldn't lease is mileage. How far do you drive on a daily basis or weekly basis? My neighbor, he drives a half a mile to work and a half mile back every day. And we were just talking about leasing, because I was telling him about me leasing my truck, and we got into the whole, what makes sense with leasing. And I told him, like, if you drive a half mile to and a half mile from every day, it's a mile. Granted, you're going to do some going to the store and stuff like that. So I told him, think about it. It's, say, 10 miles a day you drive, on average, which is 70 miles a week. The low mileage lease that they always show, the lowest price for payment in the newspaper ads, is based on 10,000 miles. So it's just a little less than 1,000 miles a month. If you're only traveling 70 miles a week, that only comes out to 280 miles a month. And you have, 900 at least to get through. No problem. So you're only using about a quarter of your mileage allotment, or about 33% of your mileage allotment for the month, every month. Which means at the end of the lease, if you stick to that, you're only going to use a third of your mileage, which is no big deal, right? For me, it's a little different story. I drive 40 miles to and 40 miles from. It's 80 miles a day. Plus with a little city drive and going to stores and stuff like that, I say I usually drive about 100 miles a day, which comes out to 700 miles a week, which would kill my mileage allotment basically in the first week. So that's why I told him, for me, leasing doesn't really make sense in the way that you want it to make sense. The only reason I'm going to lease is the number 2 reason you would do a lease is price. Price is always a big thing when it comes to buying new vehicles, especially because the price of new vehicles is skyrocketing. It is stupid. They have trucks now worth more than my house. Trucks. Pickup trucks that cost more than my house did. It's absurd. It's just completely absurd. So leasing for a lot of people is a lot better option than buying, because you can still get into a new vehicle, but it's not gonna really burn a hole in your pocket. And when it comes to even people that don't exactly have the best credit, all the companies usually have some sort of tier system. Like Chrysler Capital has tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4. Depending on where you fit into those is depending on how much they're going to adjust your payment. When I got my truck and I leased my truck, I was tier 3 financing. My credit was that, but it wasn't great. So my tier 3 financing, if I would have been tier 1, my truck payment would have been $334 a month. Because I was tier 3 financing, which is, not great, poor credit kind of thing, it was $460 a month. So it was an increase of about $130 a month to drop down 2 tiers, which is not surprising. Actually, that's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. But there are options for people that don't have the best credit. And still, a $50,000 truck for $460 a month really isn't that bad when you really think about it, because to buy it was $750 a month. You got to kind of weigh these types of things. If I would have had perfect credit, or even really good credit, probably about 720 or above, it would have been $334 a month, which would have been half the payment. I would have been paying half, and I could still have the truck for half the price. That's amazing. So if you have a vehicle that you want to look into, check out the newspaper ads and first look and see if it's going to be financially feasible for you. You should do that. That should be first instead of your mileage. And then just know that price that they're showing you has it set at the lowest possible mileage they'll give you, which is 10,000 miles. Now, you can get more miles. You can put miles onto your lease. You can do 12.5, you can do 15,000, you can do 18.5. Some dealers will actually let you kind of pick the number, and then they'll adjust your payment accordingly. When I got my truck, what I did was I went from 10,000 to 15,000, and that's why my payment was a little bit higher. So even if I would have went back down to 10,000, my perfect credit, my truck probably would have cost me about $250 a month. So there's options there. You just have to figure out what the price would be from there. The newspaper ads are more of like a starting point, because with that price, it gives you the 10,000 miles, like I said. It gives you the basically like a base price of what they'll start at. But included in that price also is all the rebates and all the incentives. So everybody will get some sort of incentive, whatever it is they're doing that day. Chrysler Cash or whatever they call it, or any kind of dealer offered incentives, those will go on there. But that price also includes senior citizen discount, military discount, the Chrysler family code that you get from direct family members that work for the company. It includes that. The employee discount, that's what I was getting at. So it includes every applicable discount that you could possibly get, and that's where they get that price from. They don't really sell it. They do say it, but it's in the very, very fine print at the very bottom. So you gotta read it. But usually, from what I've been told about some people that I know in the new car sales, is that when you look at that price, if you want to get a better ballpark of what your price is actually going to be, take that price, and then if you have the employee discount, add $50 to it. If you don't have the employee discount, add $100 to it. So if the paper's telling you, yes, it's $199 a month, but you just have an employee discount, well, it's probably going to be closer to $249 a month. But if you don't have the employee discount and you're not a senior citizen or a veteran and can apply for those kinds of discounts and no other actual personal discounts apply to you, you just get the dealer ones and the factory ones, then your payment's probably going to be more like $299 a month. And I've checked that. I've back-checked that a couple of times just to see if that's kind of true. And it is. It's really 9 times out of 10 doing it that way is really close. And if you really wanted to ballpark it before you even went down to the dealership, that's a really good way to do it. And then this way you're not getting sticker shock when you get there. You're kind of already like, yeah, I kind of knew it was going to be a little bit higher around this, and that's kind of where it is, you know. And then it gives you time to think about it before you get to the dealer and have the salesman trying to con you into it. So with those 3 things about a lease, the payment, much lower payment, understanding your mileage, if you can stay underneath your mileage and you know that for a fact that you can stay under the mileage, then there's no issue there. And then what rebates you apply for and how that affects your payment. These are 3 things that you really need to focus on first off. And then after that, go in, test drive something, you know, take something for a ride, see what you like. And dealerships are always willing to try to help out a little bit more. So even if you find something and you're pretty sure the number's right, make it seem like it's like, you know, I thought it was going to be a little bit better than this, I'm not really sure. Sometimes they'll go back to the finance people and make your payment better. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's a quick and dirty way to haggle without haggling. When you lease before you buy, for one, you have to tell the dealership that you want to do that. Even if you not necessarily want to, you should always tell the dealership, you know, I'm thinking I might buy this after the lease, because on your lease agreement there will be a little checkbox that states either A, the vehicle is not available for purchase after the lease, or B, the vehicle is available for purchase after the lease, in which case right next to it will have a number, and it'll tell you how much you'll have to pay to purchase that vehicle at the end of the lease. You'll actually know what you would be financing at the very end of the lease before you even take delivery of the truck or car or whatever you buy, which is a useful piece of information, because then knowing that ahead of time, then you'll know, okay, well, I got 6 months left on my lease, I can afford to make the payments on that amount, I really love my car, I want to keep it. Or, you know, that's a little bit higher than I want to pay, I don't know if I'd really be able to afford that payment, you know, maybe I'll just lease something else. But it gives you that heads up well ahead of time to make a good decision and to think about it properly without going back to the dealership and then being like, hey, thanks for returning in your lease, this is how much you owe us, and then you'd be like, oh crap, what am I gonna do? While I was in my lease, all the money that I paid, that goes towards the price of the truck. That's why that number that you'll see on that sheet is going to be obviously lower, considerably lower than what it's stickered at, is because your payments for your lease will go towards the purchase of the truck. They don't just take it. If you buy it, they apply however much they're going to apply based on your interest rate towards the principal. That's where they come up with that number that they put on the sheet for you. If you're going to buy it at the end lease, this is how many payments you'll make, this is what your interest rate, so this is what would go to your principal if you're buying, and then they deduct that out of that, write that number down, there's your purchase price. It's nice because it makes it more affordable for the first 2 years, obviously. So that's always a huge plus, especially when you're in my situation talking about a $65,000, potentially $65,000 truck. It'll keep it cheaper, more affordable for the next 2 years. At the end of that 2 years, I'll have my options. I could give it back. Unfortunately, I know for a fact I'll be over my mileage, and it's 25 cents a mile. So for every 4,000 miles I'm over, it's going to cost me $1,000 to give it back. So for me, it'll actually be more beneficial to do the buy and immediately sell it, because at least then I won't be money out of pocket more than likely. So 2 years of a lower payment, but when you do the buy afterwards, you get a full loan term. Like, the average vehicle loan now is 6 years, 72 months. Is usually what they're doing now because of the cost of vehicles. And with that, I think some people get the idea of, well, you've leased it for 2 years, so now they're only going to finance it for 4 so that it's done in 6. No, it doesn't work like that. You lease it for 2. And then at the end of that, you finance it at a normal loan term. For example, I leased my truck for 2 years. When I bought it, they gave me 72 months, which kept my payment down. Kept my payment way down. Yeah, it's a total of 8 years worth of financing and paying interest and da 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 da. But brand new truck, and it's affordable. That's kind of the whole point. Is making it affordable. Yeah, it's stretched out. And don't get me wrong, I fully planned on keeping this truck until it was paid off, and then maybe moving into something else. And then I saw the redesigned truck, and I just, because I only have 4 more years left to pay this off. And the way last year went, and the way this year's slated to go, I could probably have this truck paid off mid-summer next year, year and a half from now. This truck could be paid off. I could be clean and clear, no payment, no profit. I really want that new one, because again, I'm petty. And if you like videos like this, leave me a comment. Let me know, because I can make more videos that are kind of like, I guess, informational or educational. But I'm going to leave that up to you guys. Just drop me a comment. Tell me what you think. But just like that, this video's